Today we are going to review the FullSwing kit launch monitor. We are able to get our hands on one for a few days, so we're going to test it out against a few other launch monitors, the Uneekor IXO, the Mevo Plus, and the Skytrak launch monitors. So before we get to the testing point on the video, we just wanted to give our thoughts on the launch monitor just straight out of the case. So the very first thing you'll notice when you pick this up is it is heavy. It's really heavy duty. It's got this nice metal protective case on it. It seems like it's going to be very durable. If you look back here, it's got a nice stand that folds away. So you just fold it out and it is ready to go. It seems like it'd work well in the elements. It comes in this nice protective case. It's got kind of a hard surface to protect it, and then when you open up, it's nice and cushioned on the inside. There's a molded area for the launch monitor to sit in, so it's nice and protected while you're transporting it. Looking at just the hardware portions of the FullSwing, it has this nice camera on it that will record your shots, and you can review it in slow motion right in the FullSwing app, which is nice. You don't get that with a lot of launch monitors. The other thing is the display. It has a nice LED display, so you get almost instant feedback on your shot. So you take your shot, you can turn around and look at the launch monitor, see stuff like distance, spin rates, that sort of thing. One of the limitations for indoor use on the FullSwing is the space that you're going to need to use it. You're going to need at least 20 feet of space from the screen to the launch monitor for it to function properly. As we're going to set up the software, you have to have an iOS product. It has to be an iPhone or an iPad. It won't work with anything else. And then the other thing, and really the main reason we're doing this test, is because we've heard that outdoors it works great, but indoors maybe not quite so much. So the reason we're doing this test today is to compare the FullSwing to our other launch monitors to see how it compares.
So in addition to our indoor testing, we're now going to do an outdoor range test to see just how accurate this launch monitor performs outdoors. Similar to our previous outdoor tests, we're going to be hitting 20 shots each with a pitching wedge, a 6-iron, and a driver, and we're going to be focusing on the carry distance for each shot. The FullSwing app does not provide a flight path for the golf ball, but it does show a dispersion view, and we're going to be using that to see what the flight path accuracy looks like. There's always going to be some outside variables that could affect the readings, stuff like elevation, wind speed, and human error. Will all come into play here. If you want to get into all the nitty-gritty details of the test, we encourage you to read the article at the link below. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it. I hope he was ready. I guess I wasn't even watching. $119 from the FullSwing and 120 from Mike. Good hustle. 114 and 113 from Mike. Oh, nope. There we go, that was a lot better.
Oh boy. Oh, that's coming right back to me.
119 from the FullSwing. 117 from Mike. Man, this thing is impressive. $117 from the FullSwing. 119 from Mike. That's shorter. Oh. 101 from FullSwing. 103 from Mike. So the pitching wedge, every single shot that we hit was within, well, I shouldn't say every. There was 3 outliers. One was 8-yard difference, one was a 5-yard difference, and then there's one that was 23 yards difference. But I think that 23-yard difference is because John was like right next to the launch monitor with electronics and filming and stuff. So I think that probably interfered with it, because the second he moved away, it started doing good again. But even with that 23-yard difference, the average distance that it was off from reading was 2.65 yards. Even with the 23-yard, probably not the launch monitor's fault, misread, that's crazy accurate. And shot dispersion, when I paid attention to it, it was pretty close to being right on. A lot of them fairly close to center, a couple of them that I pushed, a couple of them that I pulled, and it picked up the line of the ball pretty accurately. So for outdoor launch monitor, so far, this thing is amazing. So now we're gonna move on and start hitting with the 6-iron. Hit that one like a pitching wedge.
Right at us, but short.
.114 according to the FullSwing. 119. Right to Mike's smiley little face. Didn't feel good, but came out all right. 150. 150, so that one was dead on. Fort! 159 from the FullSwing. 318, that could be right. 159 from Mike. Dead on. .166 from the FullSwing. 166 from Mike. 3 in a row. Ow. Fart. Oh, you saw that one. 163 from FullSwing. 163 from Mike. That is, I cannot believe it.
Oh, that's a good one. Now that one, not human error, because I saw it bounce right there.
165 and 165. Like, I feel like people are gonna think we're making this up. Like, that's the actual distance I'm measuring. That's crazy. Except for that one, that is now 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 in a row where it's got dead on. And then that one that, or no, 6 in a row. 6 in a row. And then that one that I'm fairly sure Mike just got the wrong spot. All right, 178. 174. So that one wasn't dead on, but it was still very close. Even with one that was off by 12, one by 8, one by 10, still only had an average of a 3.15 yard difference. That's crazy. I am very impressed with this monitor so far. And I don't know if the mics heard me before, but I've been kind of looking at the shot dispersion. And, oh, I forgot to change it from a pitching wedge to a 6-iron. Oh, well. But I mean, it's been picking up at least the general direction that the ball's been flying or landing. I mean, you can see the grouping on there where a lot of them are somewhat straight, which is weird for me. And then a couple left, couple right. Not only does Tiger approve of this, but Tim does as well, which I'm sure means a lot more to you guys. So next up, we're gonna move on and start hitting with the driver. .184 from the launch monitor. Oh God, that was so far left. Dispersion shows also that it went pretty far left. 199 from Mike. What did I say? 184. .206 from the FullSwing. 208 from Mike. .213. I can't even see Mike. Just the flag sticking up at 214 yards. That was close. That was good. Holy crap.
Yeah, Tim just hurt himself.
That's what happens when you try to absolutely murder a golf ball.
He did his old, oh.
John, I swear to God, if you put that one on there, I'm gonna quit this company. I won't, because I really like it, but I won't like you.
That's a nice high fly ball to about right about her. Good energy saver, Tim. Thank you. Thank you for helping me on this hot, humid day. It's only 83, but it probably feels like 90. And with me being fat and out of shape, it's certainly not helping.
196 yards from our launch monitor. 200 yards from our mic. Ooh, I poked that one.
It's way over my head though. Holy crap, you got a hold of this one.
We just finished up hitting with the driver. The numbers on that one were a little bit further off than the other two. The average yardage that it was off by was about 6¼ yards compared to like 2.6 and 3 for the other one. So 6.125 yards off, about 3%. You know, overall though, I'm still really impressed. It was very accurate on a lot of the shots. Honestly, I think there's a couple that, since I was making Mike run all over the place, he wasn't quite tracking so well, and maybe the markings were off a little bit, which I think accounts for some of that. But you know, overall impressions, this launch monitor is fantastic for outdoors. It's very accurate. The shot dispersion seemed to match where I was seeing the ball fly. Yeah, I really like it. Like I said before, if they need somebody to endorse it, Tiger Woods money, hit me up.
So for our first round of testing, we wanted to put the FullSwing up against the Uneekor IXO, kind of using that IXO as our baseline, maybe our control for our tests, to see how they compared to each other. We're going to be using RCT Titleist golf balls, and with this we're going to be tracking two main parameters. The first is going to be the carry distance that the launch monitors show, and the other is the ball spin. So we started off doing a 6-iron and a driver, with both launch monitors reading the shots at the same time. Please take the time to like this video if you want to see more content like this. This is as good of a time as any to smash that like button like you're gonna smash your drives. One of the drawbacks that we noticed with the software that comes with the FullSwing is it doesn't show you the full flight path of your golf ball after you shoot. So there's kind of a top-down view. It's the dispersion view, where you can see if your ball ended up left or right of center, but you can't actually see the ball as it's in flight. So here you'll see kind of the view of the flight path from the Uneekor compared to the dispersion view from the FullSwing launch monitor. Just looking at the flight path of the golf balls, what we noticed is that the FullSwing was a little more inconsistent with the flight path. And there were a few cases where the Uneekor was showing the ball maybe slicing off to the right, or if I pulled one to the left, it was picking it up what I thought was fairly accurately, whereas with the FullSwing sometimes it would show actually completely the opposite from what the IXO was showing us. The FullSwing, it seemed to pick up shots with maybe a little bit of a higher launch angle, a bit better than it did with the lower angle shots. So that translated over to the driver having more inconsistencies in the distance, where it was off by about 17 yards or so compared to the Uneekor. And one thing we noticed is if I hit a really low shot, the FullSwing was giving us some strange readings where it would say it went maybe like 50 or 60 yards, which clearly if it would have been outside, it would have gone a lot further than that. And the IXO picked that up where if I mishit one, it went low. IXO would show us about like 150, 175, whereas the FullSwing would show a lot less than that. So after our first round of testing, we found that the distances were pretty consistent. The spin rates, it's a little bit of a different story. For the FullSwing, they were, I mean, honestly, they were kind of all over the place, where sometimes compared to the IXO, it'd be within a couple hundred RPMs of the swing, of the spin on the golf ball. Sometimes it'd be off by 2,000 or 3,000. So it was just very inconsistent in reading the spin rates on the ball. So from there we moved on to our next round of tests, which involved adding a couple more launch monitors. So the next round we used the FullSwing, the Uneekor IXO, a Mevo Plus, and a Skytrak launch monitor. So we had all of those reading at the same time. We got everything set up and we did a few test shots just to make sure there was no interference between them and that all the launch monitors seemed to be reading correctly. Now with that being said, we can't ensure that all the data is going to be 100% accurate because there might have been some interference between the 4 different launch monitors we had set up. So it might not be perfect, but this should give you a good idea on the data you can expect to see when comparing these launch monitors. Comparing these launch monitors against the data that we were getting from the Uneekor IXO, we found that the Mevo Plus was actually the most accurate, where it was closest with our ball flight, the distance that the ball was carrying, the direction the ball was moving, and the spin rates were all very close to what we were getting with the IXO. Now, not far behind that was the Skytrak, which had similar numbers, not quite as good as the Mevo Plus, but still very accurate when compared to the IXO. So as far as the FullSwing goes, when we were testing with a 6-iron, it had very accurate flight distance numbers compared to the other launch monitors. The big drawback was when we would look at our spin rates, the other launch monitors were all pretty close to each other, whereas the FullSwing was a lot further off than those ones. So when we moved on to our tests with the driver, comparing the distances to the IXO, we actually found that the Mevo Plus and the Skytrak, it was almost too close to call between those two as to which one performed better. They were both giving very accurate flight paths, spin rates, and distances when we compared it to the IXO. Overall, I think that the FullSwing, it did a good job. The distances, for the most part, were pretty accurate. The lower we hit the balls, it seemed like the more the distance was off. There was a couple of drives where I didn't hit it well, and the Uneekor IXO picked up the shot and got what I thought would have been a relatively accurate distance, whereas the FullSwing had it a really short shot, like probably 100 yards off of what I thought it would have been. And then again, looking at the dispersion map, we see more inconsistencies on the ball flight when compared to the Mevo and the Skytrak. So our final thoughts on the FullSwing launch monitor are that it's going to be excellent for outdoor use. It's very accurate as an outdoor launch monitor. You're going to be getting the high-speed camera that's built right into it, so you don't need any separate hardware to be able to review your swing. One of the nicest things is that the data shows right up on the launch monitor itself, so you don't have to be at the driving range and have your phone out. I don't like always having my phone out when I'm at the driving range, so it'll sometimes go to sleep or just kind of be an inconvenience to check as I'm hitting at the driving range. Whereas you don't really have to worry about that here. All the data is just going to show up for you after you take your shot. For indoor use, there are the drawbacks. One of the limitations for indoor use on the FullSwing is the space that you're going to need to use it. You'll need at least 10 feet from the launch monitor to where you're hitting, another 10 feet from you to the screen, and then we always recommend at least another foot from the screen to anything behind it. So at least 21 feet of space for a hitting area when you're using the FullSwing. The software that's included with the FullSwing, I don't think it's best suited for indoor use. Just the fact that you can't track your shot, I would think, is a huge drawback to the software, where it's really nice when you hit a shot to be able to see it come up on a screen and be able to see the actual flight path of the golf ball. So if you're looking for a dual use launch monitor, the FullSwing, it's going to do good for you indoors, but it really excels in an outdoor setting. So if that's what is important to you, then the FullSwing is definitely worth a look. If you have any experience with the FullSwing launch monitor, please let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And as always, like and subscribe for more content on building your own golf simulator setup.